welcome. This is your Microsoft Excel lab tutorial. So we're going to get started in just a minute by downloading our start file. And then we're going to start by creating some new columns. We're going to do a little bit of number formatting, and then we're going to use some formulas to transform data to populate our new columns. And so then I'm going to expose you to a few of the statistics formulas you can use, and then also how you can format data as a table, because tables are nice, they let us sort things. And then we're going to move to some of the more advanced features in Excel. We're going to create a pivot chart, and we're going to create a pie chart as our pivot chart, customize it a little bit, and then we're going to actually print that out as a PDF as we approach the end of this lab. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So go to your lab MS Excel module, and first let's find those instructions. All right, so let me right click, open this in a new tab. And what you can actually do with these instructions is go to File, and you can export this. You can download this as a PDF. And what I like to do is open that PDF with Edge. So if you right click on something, you can say Open With in Windows 11 or 10, click Edge. And then the reason this is kind of nice is because you can mark on this document when it's a PDF. And erase. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to have to do is find this start file. So let's go ahead and back up and see if we can find that start file. So I put it down here in the Files submodule, and I've also put two kind of examples you can look at as you finish the lab or throughout the lab to kind of check your work. So this is, there are 3 worksheets that we're going to be using in this workbook. And so this is the first one, revenue by category. Sheet 1, where all the data lives. This is where we're going to start off. And then this little summary kind of stats sheet, category stats. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to download this start file. Maybe. I'm going to refresh it and try again because it hit an error. Let me try this again. So click download. Okay, and then let's go ahead and try to save this. I'm going to try to save this directly into my OneDrive. And I'm even going to organize it. I'll create a new folder. Excel Lab. And we'll put it inside here. And I noticed the instructions said to put my name on it. So I'm just going to put my name in the front and save. Now when I open this, what I should notice is that autosave is on up here. So that means that it is saved in my OneDrive storage, and it's not just living on this computer's local storage. So if I need to get up, leave later, access my file from a different computer, I can go into OneDrive through the web if it's not in the File Explorer, and I can find this document and open it again. So let me push this over on the right and then put my instructions on the left. All right, so we got it open, we've got it saved already, so we can kind of mark that off. Got it, let's see, I guess I put my name in the front. Underscore. There we go. Okay, now let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you can see how these columns are kind of overlapped. If I double click on this edge up here, I can spread these columns out. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select columns D and E. So that's this one and this one. And it says we're going to apply the currency number format on the Home tab in the number format menu. All right, so let's select D and E. So I'm going to click up here above the first row. So actually click on the letter itself. And then I'm going to left click and I'm going to drag with my cursor so I can get both of these at the same time. And then I'm going to go set Home tab. And this is a little bit squished, but it's talking about this drop down right here. And I'm going to set number. Or I'm sorry, currency, not number. So currency is the third option. All right, so this is what the currency format looks like. It puts our regional currency, which is a $, in the front, and then it has 2 decimal places. You can change the decimal with this button, and so you can increase or decrease the decimal amounts. We're just going to leave it as is. All right, so then we're going to select column F, which is units sold. So notice again, I click on the letter and that goes ahead and selects the whole column. And then it says open the number dialog box. So this time I'm clicking this drop down menu, Control 1 or Command 1 if you're on a Mac, that'll open that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply number, and then it says, well, let me scroll over. It says apply the number format with 0 decimal places. So if I just click OK, that's not quite right. It's going to apply 2 decimal places. So what I need to do is launch this again, change this to 0. All right, so there's our units sold. Let's cross all this out. We've done those 3. And I'm trying to size everything appropriately. Let's see. All right, so now we are on column F. So it says to select column F. So for this, you want to make sure that you have it selected from the top, or this won't work quite right. Then you're going to right click and you're going to choose insert in the context menu. And notice how I got a new column inserted. It like injected it between those two. So now F has shifted to column G. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on F and I'm going to say insert again. So basically what I did was I created 2 new columns sandwiched in between cost of goods sold and units sold. All right. So now I'm down here on step D, part D, and it says I'm going to name column F as revenue euros. And I'm just going to hit my tab key to move me over to cell G1. And this is where I'm going to name this column cost of goods sold euros. Hit enter. And now if I want to space this out appropriately, I can double click over here, kind of auto size that. All right. Now we're going to calculate our revenue in euros. So at my time of writing this, then a euro is worth, or a dollar is worth, let's see, 0.92 euros. Okay, so that means that we need to multiply 0.92 by our dollar amounts to convert to euros. So I have dollar here. Let's go ahead and do that conversion. Well, how do we do that in Excel? Well, we're going to use a formula. So we're going to start by typing the equal sign. All formulas in Excel start with an equal sign. So we say equals 0.92, And then I'm going to hit Shift 8 for the multiplication symbol, which is an asterisk, same as when we did Python, and type D2. So what is D2? D2 is the first revenue value in column D. So I'm basically saying multiply 0.92 times that value. Let's hit enter and see what happens. Cool. So another way you can enter formulas, I typed that in the cell itself. When you have double clicked into a cell, you can go up here to the formula bar, and you can also write your formula in right here. So I could do times E2, for example. So let me hit enter. Okay, so that's good and well, but we still have that dollar symbol. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's see what our instructions say. So they say select the currency. Let me cross this out. Select the currency format in the symbol dropdown. Okay, so we have to open our number dialog box again. You can press Command 1 if you're on a Mac. That's the convenient way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look for symbol. So here's symbol, and we're going to change this to that first kind of euro representation. So there are two different ways you can represent it in the front of the number or the back. My instructions say to choose that first option, so we're going to choose that. And let's see if 2 decimal places, and that's what it's already set to. So now we can just click OK, and we should see that symbol change. Great. All right, so now we're going to do something super similar. We're going to do almost the same formula. So I'm going to start with the equal sign. By the way, let's try this without the equal sign and see what Excel does. So if I do 0.92 times, this time instead of choosing the first row in revenue, I'm going to choose the first row in cost of goods sold. So if I look over here, that's column E, row 2, right? So I'm going to type times E2 there. Hit enter. What happened? Well, when we don't use the equal symbol, then Excel treats it literally. So instead of getting math, we get text. It's kind of like in Python when you were trying to do math on someone's input, but the input was text. You had to convert it to a number first. So let's put our equal sign in the front. Now let's hit enter. Brilliant. All right. So now let's use that drop-down menu again, and let's set that same symbol. Oh, I think I went too far. Oh, there it is. It is right there. Okay, so we're going to do 2 decimal places. All right. So we've done steps 2 and step 3. We have created these 2, but if you're wondering, okay, but hold on, how are we going to do the other 899 rows? I don't have all month to get this lab done, right? Fair enough. So here's where I introduce you to a cool feature called autofill. So notice my cursor here is kind of this fat white cross symbol. Now, when I hover over the bottom right corner of a cell, look how it changes to this black cross symbol. See that change? So when it has that black cross symbol, that's called the fill handle. And what I can do is I can double click with this. So watch, so put it over that dot, double click, and look what happens. Excel is smart, so it copies that same formula we've been using all the way down, but it's smart enough to know to change the row value to match the row we're on. So it said, oh, that was 2, I'll do 3 there, then I'll do D4, then D5, and so on. So notice how we're denoting which particular cell value to use in our calculation. We address it by column and then row. So column D, row 2, right? Now watch what happens when I put a $sign in front of D and I hit enter. Well, the number is the same, right? Let's see if I copy this down to, so I'm going to left click on this fill with this fill handle, and I'm just going to drag down only to the third column, or third row. So I'm not going to change any other rows, just this one. Okay, the number is the same. Now watch what happens if I insert another column here. So it changed that to E3. I didn't think that would happen. Interesting. Let me undo that. And watch what happens if I put a $sign in front of the row value, 2. So nothing changed here. Now I'm going to copy this and see what happened. We got the same value as the second row. So this is called an absolute reference. And Excel basically is ignoring what it normally does. So it normally automatically increments based on the row that we're on. But when we put the $signs in front of the column and row, it says treat these as absolutes. So no matter what, we're going to reference the same cell value, which is this one. So if I have this formula as absolute up here and I double click with that fill handle, look at that. Everything's just going to have the value of what the first one should be. Sometimes you need things to not change when you're working in Excel. You need to copy the same thing elsewhere. And so that's a way you can do that. In our case, we need to treat these as what's called a relative reference. So delete those $signs, hit enter, and then I'm going to change those back to what they should be. All right, now we're going to go ahead and fill these all the way down. And there we go. And if we were to scroll all the way down to row 901, should see that it's populated. Good deal. All right, so now we've done that. So now we are going to autofill. Yeah, we did that. Okay, now it's time to use the text function. So the text function is really cool. And rather than even describe it, let's just see what it does. So I'm going to hit my right arrow to move me over here. Now, it says in J1, I'm going to title this as day of the week. Then I'm going to hit my tab key. And then I'm going to name K1. I'm kind of skipping down to number 2 for a second. I'm going to name that one year. All right, so let's look at this instruction. So we're going to put this formula in. I'm going to expand that. Go into my formula bar, and I'm going to type equals text in all caps. Now, you might have noticed that a dialog box come up. You don't have to memorize these formulas. You can find them over here in the insert menu. So if we say, the formulas tab. So if I go to insert function here, you'll see I have a menu, and this should have like all the different categories. You can even kind of search if you know I'm doing something with text, type text, hit enter or click go and see what shows up. Okay, so here is that formula. Click OK. And what's nice about inserting functions this way is you get a little bit of help. So you get these boxes and they kind of help you build the formula, and they tell you kind of what is supposed to go in each box. So the first one is where we're going to type A2. And then the second box is where we're going to type this format. So double quotes, D, 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 D. Okay. And look what it gives us a preview of what it's going to create. And it says Monday. Interesting. So let's try something else before we hit OK here. Let's see what happens if we just do 2 Ds. Okay, we get the value 10. So Monday would be the 10th. Let's see what happens if we do 3 Ds. So we get kind of the day name, but it's abbreviated, first 3 letters of it. So there are different kinds of date formats. D is for day, and we get different results based on how many we specify. Well, that's interesting. So it's taking this value 3/10/2025 and it's transforming it into the day of the week. So let's click OK. And now we're going to use that fill handle again because we're lazy and we don't got time to do this 899 times. All right. And then we're going to do a very, very similar thing on the year column. And I'm just going to copy this formula. So I just press Control C, or you can click copy there. Then I'm going to come over to K1. Let me hit escape here. Click in K1, and I'm going to paste that. But then I'm going to change A2, A2 stays the same. So that's where our date lives. If we look over here, there's A2, right? And then I'm going to change this to YYYY. That's going to give me the full year format 2025. Enter. Brilliant. And then we're going to use the fill handle. And if everything was correct, we should see the year always matches what it is over here. Okay, it looks like it does. And it should end on 2022, yeah. So this data is sorted. You can tell it starts on 25 and it goes in descending order. All right. Now, we've done that. It says select column K. So let's go over here. Select column K, and it says use the number format dialog. So Control 1 or Command 1 to change the column from the general format, that's the default, to the the text format. Okay. The reason we're doing this is because if we treat it as a number, sometimes when we're trying to create charts, it's going to try to aggregate these, treating them as numeric values, when we just need to treat them as categories. So then we can do things like sort by what year it is. So that's why we converted it to text. So it doesn't try to treat it as a number. Because 2025, of course, is a number. All right. Now we're going to select all of these columns and we're going to build a table. So we're going to go over here to A1, and I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and drag over here, and I'm going to stop at K. Now I let go of my mouse button, but I still have all that selected. And now I'm going to press Control Shift and the down arrow on my keyboard, and watch what this does. So that automatically selects all the data for me. Now you can left click and you can drag diagonally down and get all that data too. But I find this way is more convenient. Especially once you get the hang of it, it will feel more convenient. You'll be able to move a little bit faster. So then now that I have all of my data selected, I'm going to go to the Home tab here. And I'm going to look for this option. Should have an insert or format as table option. So it's right here in the styles group, format as table. And I don't know, you can choose whatever style you want. There's even dark mode styles. I'm going to choose this right here. And make sure that my table has headers is selected. Those are those column names. And notice the range. So if you didn't want to manually select all of that data like I did, you can type in this. Notice that those values are being treated as absolutes because of those dollar signs. Then we'll click OK. And there we go. So notice this. Now that it is represented as a table, I have these little drop-down menus beside every column name. And these allow me to sort by that value. So this will sort all the rows by kind of the date in ascending order. And then if I do this the other way, it's going to do descending order. Actually, sort A to Z. Okay. Must not be using... I think it must be sorting by... Interesting. Because 2025 should be... Anyway, I don't want to get in the weeds and get bogged down wondering why that didn't sort how I thought. But anyway, you do have ways of sorting that. All right. So, let me back up. Whoops. There we go. So we got it formatted as a table. And now we're going to create a new sheet. So how do we do that? We're going to go down here. We're going to click this little plus button. And that gives us a new sheet. And then we're going to double click on where it says sheet 2. And we're going to hit the backspace. And let's see, then we're going to type category, capital C, and then capital S, stats. Hit enter. And now we've named it correctly. Okay, and now in this first one, we're going to type equals. So we're starting a formula, unique, open our parenthesis, and then this is where I'm going to type sheet 1, exclamation point. What does the exclamation point do? This says everything that appears after this is the range of data I want to put in there. So first we have the sheet or the table name to help us look up what data we're talking about, what sheet is it in, and then we're telling it what range of data within that sheet. So C:C. So obviously we're referencing column C, and let's hit enter. Cool. So the unique function looks at all the possible values in column C, and it shows each of these once. And then, I don't know why it puts a 0 at the end, but that's what it does. And so I find that really useful sometimes when you want to see what values are unique. So these are our categories, in other words. And then, so why do we do C:C? Well, if we did C1 or C2 colon C901, we would still capture all of the categories all the way down to here. But what would happen is if we added some new rows, then we wouldn't get those included. We'd have to update the end of that range manually. But by saying C:C, we say whatever data is there in C besides the column name. We're going to put that in there. And so that's what it does. Or actually puts the column name at the top. Okay. So we have that. And now we're going to go ahead and create these labels. So it says label column B as, mean total revenue USD. And let's go ahead and expand that. And then this one, I'm going to name it median total revenue USD. And then we're going to do mode total revenue USD. Enter, and let's expand that. Okay, and now here's where I wanted to show you some of the statistics formulas. There are a lot of statistics formulas. You can do really powerful stuff. I just wanted to get you started in this lab with the basics. So let's go to formulas and see if we can just through the graphical menu. So we're going to change the category to statistical. And then the first formula we're going to use is the mean or the average. So that's this average formula right here. When you click it, you get a description down here, so you'll kind of know if you got the right thing. Click OK. And now what we're going to do here is we're going to reference sheet 1. Now, here's another way I can do this. So I have number 1 selected here. I'm going to go to sheet 1. And notice how it already fills in that name for me and the exclamation point. And then it says D. So let's click on the letter D. And look at that, D:D. So it created exactly what you see over here just by clicking. So that's a really convenient way to create these formulas. So let's click OK. So this is the mean of that column. We could make this look nicer with some number formatting, but we don't need to do that. Now we're going to do the median here. All right, so let's see if we can filter it out. Median. Enter. There it is. Click OK. And now let's go to sheet 1 and let's click D. There we go. And now we'll do the mode. So Excel has 2 modes. It has a multi-mode, which can return an array, meaning it can return multiple values. And then we have the single mode, which is the one that we're interested in. So let's type mode. So this multi one, it says returns a vertical array of the most frequently occurring or repetitive values, whereas single, it's going to give us just a single one. So let's click OK, and then we're going to do the same thing. I can type this one in just to show you that both ways work. Sheet 1 Sheet 1 exclamation point D:D. Click OK. Okay, this one takes just a second. Now we've got our statistics calculated. And we are good to move on to the visualizations. All right, so let's go back to sheet 1. And this time, we're going to click somewhere. Actually, we don't need to click anywhere. We're going to click Insert, and I'm going to find Pivot Chart. Now, be warned, there's a pivot table and a pivot chart. We want the one that says Pivot Chart. Table will let us move around rows and columns, but it won't show us a chart area. So we want to click this one, and we don't need to click the drop down. We can just click the top of that. Let's see, table/range. So what goes in here? Click somewhere on your table. Actually, that didn't work. Let me try this again. So let's click on our table, and then let's try that again. Insert pivot chart. So that table/range should show up as table and then whatever number it is. If you created your table the first time, it's table 1. If you had to recreate it, it might be table 2 or table 3. But as long as it has that table name in, then you should be good to go. So you just have to click somewhere within the table so that you get that to show up. Then we'll just click OK. and you actually want to make sure that new worksheet is selected. Click OK. There we go. All right. So this is a pivot chart worksheet. And what's cool is you see all of the fields, all the column names here. And if we check one, you see it show up. And then if you check two, it's going to build a chart automatically out of those two that you checked. So that's interesting. Now, if you accidentally close this, you might be saying, how do I get that back? So you can go to Pivot Chart Analyze and click this Field List button, and that'll put it back for you. All right. Now the instructions do say to name the sheet, I believe. Yeah, they say to name it revenue by category. So let's go ahead and double click down here. And let's set this to revenue by category. Enter. All right. Okay, so we have our fields. I've kind of showed you how we can use them. And now instructions in H say we're going to check 3. Category, revenue euros, not revenue USD, and then year. Okay, so notice how it built this out. So it's breaking these out by categories and then showing us each year's revenue for that category. What we actually want to do is we want to move year. So look down here at this kind of quadrant. We want to move year to the filters box. So notice how that changed the way our chart appears, and it also changed the way the data appears over here. So what we're looking at in the data is the sum for across all the years, 2022 through 2025. But now we can filter this by an individual year as well. So here are 2023's totals by category. So that's why filters are kind of nice. You can narrow your data, you can modify it without even having to change the chart at all. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so now we have our chart. We have it kind of like we want it here. Done that. And now the next thing we want to do is, let's see, we want to give this a better title. Okay, so I'm going to click up here. You kind of have to click once to select that text box, and then you double click in it, and that will select over it. And then I'll hit backspace, and I'm going to name this revenue by category. So always give your charts meaningful names. I can't stress that enough. If you're giving a presentation, because I've seen presentations, important presentations, and every chart is labeled total. And it takes just a little bit longer to figure out what are they showing me because they don't have a meaningful title. Your stats professor can help you name things if you're ever not sure, or whoever you're doing the assignment for. So revenue by category. All right, so we got that named. Now we're actually going to change this. We don't want to use a bar chart. So the reason that pivot charts are nice is we can very just dynamically change the stuff that we don't want. We can adapt it to something else. So what I'm going to do is click somewhere on the chart. So if you're not clicking on the chart, then what's going to happen is you won't see the design and the format tabs. But watch what happens when I click somewhere. Now I get design and format. So we want to kind of click on the outer edge to select the chart area, click on design, and then we're going to go over here to change chart type. Now I'm going to choose pie, and you have the option, I'm giving you the option of the 2D or the 3D one. Let's do 3D because it's cool. And there we go. You also have some color options up here. I kind of like that. All right. So right now, this chart is kind of hard to read. Like, I want labels on this. I have a legend over here, but I want to actually add some labels here. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click somewhere on the pie itself. You might have to click twice. And what you're going to do is you're going to see all these data points around the slices. Now, if I click again, it selects only that one pie slice. So if that happens, click off of it and then click back on it because we want all of our points selected. Then you're going to right click and you're going to say add data labels. May have misclicked. Oh, okay, my labels are invisible. We have white text on a white background. So now that I've added them, I'm going to click Format Data Labels. So if you select off, kind of click somewhere on your chart again, and you'll see all these little boxes. Then I'm going to right click. I'm going to say Format Data Labels. And then here's what we're going to do. I've got to find my place again. So it says first check category name. Then it says to uncheck values. And then to check percentage. So now we should see both the name and the percent. This isn't very legible yet, so bear with me. We're going to have to do some coloring. Okay. So now I'm going to go over here to Format, and I'm going to change the shape fill to, what does it say? White. So that does a white background. Now we see everything. And then we're also going to change the shape outline to black. So we have a little black border. Okay. So now once we have all that, I can close this. And I'll just close this for a minute. And there we go. So that's a lot easier to see. Let's expand the chart area out, make it a bit more legible. All right. So notice that some of these percentages, bed and bath and then groceries, are both 0. So that doesn't necessarily mean there's nothing in those categories. If we look over here, we actually have 2 million something in revenue. So it's not that we don't have nothing for these categories, but it makes up less than 1% of the data. So Excel has rounded this to 0%. That's not very helpful in a pie chart. So we're just going to delete these labels. So we're going to click on one of these and notice how all of them are selected. So click on that one again, and then it's only that one. Then we'll right click, we'll say delete. And then over here, have to double click, right click, and delete. All right, so that's a much more legible pie chart. Guess we can expand that a little bit more. Brilliant. All right, and now we are nearing the end, folks. We've done this. So now we're going to adjust the sizing of everything. So let's go back to sheet 1. And earlier I had you kind of expanding the row width by double clicking up here like that. But there's an easier way. So if I click up here and drag over, I can grab everything in that table. And now instead of doing it that way, I'm going to go over here to this cells group. And if this is expanded out, it looks like this. Click Format and click Auto Fit Column Width. Look at that. All right, so now I'm on the revenue by category sheet, and I'm going to, so I'm over here. I'm going to go to File, Print, and look at this. we have this is our print preview. So if we try to print this into a PDF right now, our chart would get cut off the page. So we have to change some settings here. We want to set this to print active sheets. And by the way, I need to actually back up for a second. If you click on your chart and you click File Print, it's going to try to print only the chart. And so if you're confused, why am I not seeing the kind of the column or the table rather, then that's why. So just click somewhere off of that chart, then go to File, Print, and now you'll be seeing something like this. All right, so we want to make sure this is set to print active sheets. Then we want to change this from a portrait to landscape. And now we have more of our chart, but it still doesn't quite fit. Well, let's go ahead and change this from a letter size. Actually, I think okay, we're going to keep that as it is. We're going to change this from normal margins to narrow so we can fit a little bit more. And then we're going to actually scale this. So we're going to say fit sheet on one page, and that's going to scale it to make sure that everything fits on the page. Okay, so now we've done all of this. And now we're going to change this. So this is where you have different printers. We want this to be Microsoft Print to PDF. Now, this looks a little bit different on a Mac, and I don't have a Mac with me right now. So follow along closely with those Mac instructions. And you can email CSCI 1100 if you're trying to figure out, how do I print to a PDF on a Mac? I just remember from working with it on students' laptops that it just looks a bit different in how you print to a PDF. Okay, but on a Windows machine, we should see this print to PDF option. And now I'm going to click print. Okay, and this is going to try to save to my desktop by default. That was just the last place I used. Instead, I'm going to go over to my OneDrive, and I'm going to put it in my folder with that other document, just so I know they're in the same place. So I'm going to name it revenue underscore pie underscore chart underscore and my name. Okay. Click save. Make sure that that's a PDF. Click save. Okay, cool. So where did that go? Well, I told it to go in my OneDrive. So if I actually go into my OneDrive, I should be able to navigate to it. So I put it in this folder. Let's open that up and take a look. Make sure it looks okay. And now if you wanted to compare this, there's a screenshot I have for you. I don't know where it is right now. But look down there where the solution file is, and you can kind of compare these, check the percentages, check the that you've used the right revenue euros here, that the values match up, and you'll kind of know that you've done the other operations in the sheet right if all these values match up, right? Okay. All right, so at this point we are done, but you need to submit both of these files. So go ahead and review these kind of assessment criteria. These are kind of your sanity checks, and compare that to the solutions that I left for you. And then we are ready to submit. So let's go over here to the Dropbox. Or can I preview this? Guess not. Okay, let me go to a different Dropbox just so I can open it. And this is where we're going to upload both the Excel file and the PDF. All right, so select both of these. And now notice one thing. What does this say? It doesn't say start file dash dash cosmic sales data, blah, blah, blah. If yours has start file in the name, either you didn't add your name to the end of it and remove that when we started, or you may be submitting the wrong file and it may not have your work in it. So if you want to double check, what I'd recommend is actually just navigate directly to where that file is stored, double click it, open it up, and inspect it. Make sure it actually has all of your changes in it. Can't emphasize that enough. It happens a lot and it's easy to do. Just one little screw up right at the end, right? So just double check just for your own sake, and that'll give you peace of mind. And now we can upload these. All right. And then you would click submit. And don't upload to the Web Literacy Lab, by the way. All right, so I hope that tutorial helped. I hope that gave you kind of a firm grasp of some of the things that you can do in Excel. If not, that's okay. Upon reviewing this, I'm confident that you'll be able to use Excel effectively. All right, hope you have a great rest of your week.